Look at that, skipping channels every 5 seconds, set location. It went from 0 to 10 to 15 to 16 to 26. Okay, open up sequence patterns, correlation to travel lines, directing panels, and communications. So we're basically, General is going to start earlier because of line calculation, so it's mapping sequences space-time, has your standards rhythm patterns, directing to position location of your charted waves, understand how to use pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is extremely powerful when you come to your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. So remember, you guys are quantum computers, location settings, biocomputers, and you really have to understand how to identify yourself. Not just through mapping sequence, but through the geological system, the geometric system, the astrological system, okay, the astronomy system. It's all connected to your system and your astrology charts. You truly understand how to use your chart of waves and set location travel settings. Understand how to use the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols in all track locations of information. Now we're in a new matrix setting, yes. We're in a new coloration patterns, but the calculations to the higher self and to the avatar in the sim has to fully understand this set location to its mapping sequence of what it's doing through its geographical system, the geometry setting of its own GOD, of mechanism location of travel, so clocking. Clocking is extremely crucial in line calculation setting to higher levels of frequencies. It's putting your position locations on all levels of the existence and set locations of past, present, future in set positions of operation. You're not going back in time. You're only changing the clocking into the now. Okay? So there's a reason why it's set position track lines, because you're sending up too many polarities, but not enough efficacy or efficient levels or anything to track location of clock lines. Clock line division to a set location line system is all travel communications, right? So when we look at clocking line calculation setting and all levels of travel communication, these are all clocks, right? These are all clocks in recognition of time sequence, right? But you can see them in patterns: 3-line signals, 3-line communications, offline 2 track locations, 1 signature pattern, and 2 offline condition. But the mechanism line calculation setting is a 3-line cycle line conditions of 4 in track location. Okay, so to really understand how this all works in patterns, guys, it's all direct signals to your system locations. Get into the coloration line settings into your charter waves. Now, because we're in a 72 track location, the team line settings, they're in a month cycle now, of space and time. So ground has a calendar, nature has a calendar, atmospheres have a calendar, space and time has a calendar. So it's about understanding how to sequence a set location system. This is balancing your set location, your cerebrals, and your placebo cortex calculation stream locations, because you're dealing with between 80,000 and 150,000 per frame per second through thought. Now, position, location, acceleration line calculation setting, each line calculation clock line sets a line calculation stream location to a system and track locations. All right. Measures on all lines of calculation stream locations of indication. Right. So it's important you go to school. It's important you go through Q&A. It's important you watch my videos more than ever now. Okay, because the frequencies are just going to go off the charts of charter waves. Directing communication of panel lines, signature line communication. Okay, clock line here, clock line here, clock line here, clock line here. Okay, so there's 4 clocks there and it's signature line calculations. This is where you are in line communications. There's never a beginning and there's never an end, but it's a continuous force tracked as correlation system, right? So there's never a start to anything because you're existing, which is you're constantly traveling. That's why there's no beginning, there's no end, but there needs to be clocking through your signature stream locations, right? So you got a 24 lines, you got a 48 line position, you got a 72 track locations into 144 is that location. Okay, that's what you come into. Okay, 4 line calculations, different clocks, different patterns, different tone, different communications. Chart of waves and position track lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Point directions, points, points, points. So what are your points? Clockings. When you get there through locations, XT1000 comes in, track location, right? Scans position, location, safe, lands. Okay. Sets location, another XT1000 comes on the other side location, right? Scans 48, sets position, lands. Okay. Set location here, centerline communication onto 72 track location of platforms. right? It's safe, lands. Okay? Same with communication on 144. Now 144 is a center operation. Scans position, location, is the location, lands. Okay? That's how this all works. Okay? It lands on its platforms when it's safe to do so through a set position of all calculations. So you have to recognize your numbers that are given to you when you see it in position of verification. If you're saying 222, what is that? 3 track line calculations, security line measures, the location of Pluto. That's 3 platforms over 2 line calculations, setting to 2 track location, and high center interference, 2 visual locations of platform communications of landing set location line system equals landed, rendezvous. So you go through 24, 48, 72, and 144 in a second through a thought. The 24 is set locations of its balance. 48 is its window frame. 72 is computer frame. And 144 is its crystal grid and set locations. And this is what comes into a creation of a thought through its setting. Okay? Per channel, per screen, per operation, per second, per line set locations in its minutes and hours. A set location. Okay? All right. How's everybody doing today? So now you understand the importance, because that's what you're going through every single time. So in calculations, if you got a 1 signature line, you only need 2 clockings. I don't need 4. I only need 2, because I'm going from 24 to 144. Okay, so I skip in the between. So what's above is what's below, right? In the center communication, right? So I travel from here to 144, okay, which is a half pipe. 6 line communication setting and track line position to its operation. Sets lines of calculate high position of travel lines and center line communication into 144 rounds of communication. Okay, so y'all have to understand how this all works. This is where you can basically get into set locations, where I started class at 9 and not 10. So set location line settings. Let's go into black line communications. So inline position locations. Let's go through 5. Let's go through 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10 here in set location, right? 10 here, right? So 9's here. 9 equals lines, right? So in track location line position locations, it's got to go through 2 positive line position location attraction, right? So that's 2 X line centers, okay, equal line communications and 1,000 line set location, right? So that's 20 lines equals the lines of 4 in set location, right? Now it gets complicated because it works with a 24 in set location, right? So 10 equals lines of 12, 12 lines calculation setting, 12 equals 1 XD 1,000 line, which locations, all set locations, equals lines of 144 and track location. This is all through clocking, guys. All right, so mechanism of high calculation travel lines. Remember, letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, it's intelligence of its own form. So 1 equals lines of GOD. But how does 1 equals lines of GOD of its own geometric operation and design, of its direction, of its dimension, of space and time, right? 1 is not 1. It's everything but a 1. It's a panel. It's a clocking. It's a yin and yang. It's a square. It's a star system. You understand? All right, good. All right, so in that position of program settings and all levels of operation line calculations and location system, you guys are in a 72 track location equal line calculation box, triangulation high calculations into triangulation high position locations, male aspects calculation of female line rotations in locations all levels, female lines of male, calculation of female male, mid position of male female position attraction. Okay, all in the 72 of a clocking location. So you're always working inside line condition high center. Then you go into 144 track location line settings, sets position to its operation of center communication lines, opens up its Fibonacci line rotation surface and set location. Okay. All right. So I'm just getting you to understand how to go with the clock line communication mapping, sequence location of patterns to all set location line system, how to use it through the alpha communication of tone settings and all track location system and travel. Okay. Set position of box, triangulation, 0, 0, 0, 1 set location. Very complicated, right? So the box line sets lines of triangulation of reset position programs, box line rotation centers, and position of center operation at set location. Okay, triangulation comes in line calculation setting. So that's a triangulation line position of its box location. Triangulation into the box or box and triangulation, right? So triangulation equals box equals lines of pi in direct signal. So that's overcharge, set location underlying rotation center, and set location high center pi, and calculation string location and position of operation. Very complicated stuff. All right, so now you understand the clocking and line conditions all levels of your months. So you know 72 month and set locations. All right. 72 month, right? Equals line calculations are 144. Clocking communication, you have 72 lines and 144 track locations, right? But in line rotations, you're changing line conditions. So 72 over 72. That's where you are. Triangulation line setting, 72 track line conditions. What is 72 line position? 3 zeros in set location of one setting. Okay. That goes location of 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3, 0, 0, 0, 4, 0, 0, 0, 5, and so on, all the way around. Okay. So you're working with the triangulation line position in your pyramid. Platitude lines are 3 lines in communications. Directing calculation, your diamond core, and your mapping sequence of patterns. Correlate calculation line interference into your umbrella and set position all levels of core into ethers and set location and travel settings. Directing lines on 144, tracking communication setting and travel position to its operation surface and set location. Okay, so we all understand how to travel out in 3 lines of communication, or line conditions of 4 or 5 lines of indication in set position, right? All through 72 months. All right, so like I said, guys, it's very complicated. So in position locations, now we come into 9, right? So, and then we come into 10. There's 9 and there's 10, right? So 10 basically time jumps over 10. And 9 becomes its position location of program and set location. Okay? So you're always moving forward. You're not moving back. You're directing and redirecting. Okay? But it's always in the now equals lines of future equal lines of existence. Okay? So you have to really understand how this all works. Okay? So I want you to really understand your point systems, how to time jump, time leap, vortex, line, set location, line system. If you point your system line settings and track locations, this is you through center position, right? So you're always in the center. You never leave the center because it's you. It's your mind that leaves. Okay, so you leave your perceptions of pi. Okay, you don't leave. Your mind leaves. So center correlations higher self, center correlations avatar, center correlations sim. You understand? All right, good. Now, once you understand the directions of time sequence and the levels of colorations of patterns and high direct signals, it gets you into better communication modifications, how to use the box centers, triangulation and reset position programs, Fibonacci line swirls, percentage over pi, calculates high center interference, 3 waving patterns and set location line settings, and all track location system in a box location centers into your pyramid in line position to its travel. See? It's all easy, right? 3 weather patterns of 1, 2, and 3 set locations. Right? Now the percentage of 3 sets calculation, the centers of 2 sets location, and the centers of 1 sets locations of 1, 2, and 3. Setting track lines and triangulation and reset position of programs. Very complicated stuff, right? So in separation, they're not separated, right? Because they're invisible. This is where the I doesn't exist. This is where we come into the existence of the now in set locations. How do you send the Fibonacci of its triangulation? Triangulations to its pyramid, pyramids to its box, to its rectangle. All through point system of 24, 48, 72, and 144 clocking system equals lines of seconds, minutes, and hours in set location. Okay? All right. So once you send the balance line settings, stream location lines, one indication, one box location, that's a box. But look to you, it's an illusion, right? So where's the box? In the center of set location. Do I need to show you? No. So in position location, it's all levels of travel line. This is travel lines out of the mine. Okay. The sun and the moon comes in position location to calculation. All right. So in that track location, the moon comes in this line calculation setting in track locations. Right. So this is the moon. All right. All information line conditions of a solar sail in its dimensional sail location setting the travel. Okay. Setting position location of its travel. So that's why you see the moon in surface line calculation setting. It's all line position locations. It's that location of operation. Okay. So it's really understanding how to use information locations to you guessed it, your astral projection, so travel. It's that location. Okay. Perceptions of lights and perceptions of the moon. Moon sets line calculation setting a high interference location XT1000 comes in. Right? Centers is track location. So line position locations, all levels. Now the track location, this is the moon, this is the sun. Okay. So in line calculation, high interference sets sonar to the XT1000. Right? XT1000 comes in, boom. Right? Centers its position location 1, 2, 3, 4. Location grid, right? So goes from 24, 48, 72, and 144. So track location line centers is 24 ground lines, set position of 48 frames, and 72 track location computer frames into 144. So once it gets into 144, it's in seconds, minutes, and hours, right? Then it comes into its platforms. 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 Okay? Very powerful stuff. So what are you creating? You're creating platforms so the XT1000 line calculated stream location comes into its indication, and through this higher self, we can basically go from one platform to the next. Time jump. It can leapfrog in set location, right? Leapfrog in set locations. So what do you do when you're creating? You're creating a platform so you can set up position locations, all levels of dimensional door settings and track location. There's the door. Boom. Right? Very powerful stuff, isn't it? Okay, so understanding the importance of coloration is the line calculation setting of security line divisions. 1 bracket, 2 line stream location settings on all levels of operation. Okay, set position of 3 zeros and correlations of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So 0 calculation lines of 1, 0 calculations of 2, 0 calculations of 3, and 0 calculations of 4. Okay? Comes in modification, all levels of division location of routers and routers and line position is operation. Says correlates in high track line conditions. So we take the 0 lines into 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, we track the correlation setting to panels of communication. So directing line communication crosses lines of triangulation and reset position of programs. Position line calculation high interference of triangulation and reset position line calculation setting to box line rotation centers that opens up all calculation setting to your theta asset locations. Right, there it is. There's your computer. Boom. Right? Okay. You have to really understand how this all works, the clock lines. Now you understand the position of patterns because you're going through line communication setting. Because if you're going through 1 billion cycles, okay, remember, you're going through travel setting locations, so you're mapping sequence. So that's triangulation of point systems, 3-point system locations into line sends of what? Equals lines of what? Molecules. Okay. Fractals correlation high interference into line connections of completing cycle equals lines of image in set location. Okay. So you have to understand how you go into triangulation of reset position programs of point system and direction. Okay. Point system and direction. So that's what it is. The XT1000 comes in, right? Here's 24, 48, 72, and 144, right? And then you go back into 0 gravity in set locations. All right. So you're at 1 billion cycles per second, per minute, per hour in channel. Okay. So it's really understand how to use line calculation setting of coordinates and each position location travel lines to each line position to its planet and line conditions of Jupiter in set location. Sets position location of levels of Neptune in set location. Set position locations of Pluto in set location. Set position location of Mercury in set location. Okay. All through complete cycle of its image through its fractals and position attraction. through a billion cycles per second, per minute, per frame, per hour, per channel, per clocking. Okay? So getting into that balances out the stream. So one line division location, one calculation stream location line centers. Gray centers and high position of operation. That's what this is. But to you, it's just a line. See the confusion? That's what it is. It's the adaptation of what you say, but you say something different up here. Balancing your yin and yang is the process how to use your polarities and line set. Do you see that go by? You see the XC1000 go by me? It went. You didn't see it, did you? Right? See, that's you got to catch it in. The only way we can catch it in is to slow down your space so you can actually see the image in its space in between. Setting track location here and out through equation. That's what it was, right? Me and position location. This is me. Okay, set locations. Attractors, correlation, setting attraction. Okay, that's me in the center, right? So that's what the XT1000 did from here to here. So it went from 24 to 144 and split a second. Okay, out through a box frame in line setting, guys. Okay. So we all have to be aware of what we're doing when things are coming at us through spectrum communication to its outer space. This is outer space. Okay, that's outer space. This is inner space. That's you. Traveling outer space. Okay, outer space coming to inner space of you. You understand? That's how this works. So in that line conditions, you're directing and redirecting, directing, redirecting, directing, redirect, directing, redirecting. That's what it is. This is not directing and redirecting. This is off channel. Okay? Directing, redirecting, directing, redirecting. So that's what it is. So 9 here equals lines of 10. So I can bring 10 here to 9. I can bring 9 to 10 in position, location, and calculation. Directing, redirecting, directing, redirecting. Right? So you're bringing the 9 forward, but the 10 is always forward. But it stays in its position. Okay? Because you don't want to confuse the anomalies of space and time through traction, right? Because it's all about understanding how to use the past, the present, and your existence of its future and its clockings of its now. You're not going back in time. You're just directing and redirecting, directing, redirecting, transmitting, receiving, transmitting, receiving, transmitting, receiving. That's all it is. It's not this way in set location. 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 Okay? Directing, redirecting, directing, redirecting. So it's a windshield wiper. That's all it is. Nothing else, nothing more. All right, so moving on. Attraction line setting to track communication to its operation surface. Light signature stream locations of clock line calculations of 2 panels of operation. Crossing line connections all levels. Data stream line locations, box centers. 0 correlations of 1. Box lines into percentage. Now this is where it comes out calculations of line connection line system. A tic-tac-toe, percentages over triangulation and position of a rectangle into star system triangulation. Okay, program location all levels and line calculations into 3 set location. 3 set line conditions crosses lines of string location. Right? So really understand how the 3 goes here. So it's basically going through a time jump. Space lines anomaly calculation that's at 24. Sets location of 72. Sets location of 144 and track location line setting. So that's 144 equals lines equal to line calculation setting of clock and line communication. That's set locations. Right? So it's a really interesting how you can go back and forth. So you can go from 24 to 144. You can go from 24 to 72. You can go through 24 to 144. You can go from 144 to 24. You can go from 144 to 48. This is about understanding where you go direct and redirect. Okay? Because the mechanism high calculation of clock lines interact system is all levels of calculation of travel. Okay? So it's just a better way to look at things through your clocking system, how to go through your 24 line screens, how to go through the centers of 24, how to go through the grounds of 24, right? So that's 2 panels of operation. Okay? So what you want to do is you want to take the 2 security and travel it out in 2 panels. take the 4 division lines and bring it down cross line stream location of 4 measures. Okay, take the 2 track lines and high center interference in position of balance in set location. Take the 4 generation stream locations and do the opposite line connection high setting in set location of 4 track locations. Putting track lines at 24 in a circle line communications and balance line calculation setting the space and time attraction. So it's all about understanding. You always have the X2000 come in. Always, always, always. 2 track lines, 3 line calculations then because they're trying to figure out what you're doing through drawing. So in that set locations, it's always, always scanning everything in center position of what you're doing through operation. Okay, very powerful. So once you get your 24 and your 48 and 72 and 144 to track location of seconds, minutes, and hours, you create platforms of acceleration in time sequence and position of patterns and all calculation to a system and travel communication. Okay, very powerful stuff. So why do we have a platform? What goes on the platform? Dimensional doors, people. Dimensional doors. Okay, and then you travel through the dimensional door setting to another dimensional door setting of an interdimensional setting locations. Okay, so now you understand the importance where it comes into 24, 48, 72, 144, because you're creating the set location of its crystal grid. Now the crystal grid comes into coloration line screens. Now, this is where it gets interesting through a 24 line screen. Now that directs the location of your system. So you have 12 lines of calculation settings of colors, right? Which is your rainbow. So you come position location center lines. You go in your crop circle of whites in set location line system. So you go in chronological order. Okay, set location lines, grounds, calculation high position. So your crop circle is all position and track lines into brown. There's the brown, right? And what's in center position to its operation line calculation setting, your protected high position location travel line interference and travel position location operation line calculation setting is track location and security. Set location line interference. What's security line position location travel lines? The orange side with communication line centers and high position location, your Fibonacci line rotation centers and track location. Getting calculation line interference. So you go through the foundation location of 12 line signals and line high interference, bounce your communication lines at 24 and set location setting to your matrix site communication operation line set location system and track calculation lines at 24, 48, 72, 144, track location high interference, dimensional line calculation setting, creating cerebral cortex line, dimensional door line, stream location setting, and multi layers of communication all levels of operation. That's that location. Okay. All right. So you go to orange and then you go line positions to what? Go communication line strings into all levels of yellow in set location, right? And position that track lines, you go into position line connections of green in set locations. Okay, and then you go into what line? So you're going up the foundation of 12 of your rainbow activation string. Okay, so each coloration has a line screen. It's direct signals to your panel's communication line position location at 24, 48, 72, 144, clock and light and high center interference location setting. You're going from seconds, minutes, and hours in track location system. So what you're doing is creating platforms with dimensional doors to start off. Okay, now you understand the cerebral cortex location when you're recharging. All right, so calculation high position location 5 line kind of high center position traffic communication lines comes into all communications of what? Blue, your throat. Sending track lines calculation high interference. 6 location number 7 is what? Inline calculation setting. Indigo, communication line settings. Indigo and set locations, right? Set position location lines of 8. What is 8 line position locations? Purple and set location, right? Inline calculation high interference. What position location track lines? All variation colors of calculation lines and space line communications, right? 9. 10 line position mixture pattern correlation high interference is purple. And set location line calculation setting location is position track lines of pink and set location travel settings. Direct and communication line centers high levels of operation surface, right? What's 11? Mixture pattern correlations. So you're going from 1-digit number to 2-digit numbers to 3-digit numbers of different colorations of patterns and high set locations and clock lines, but you're always going through track location of 24, 48, 72, 144 through each center communication of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Break it down. You're creating letters into words, into story, into frame, into structure, into design, into its image, into its correlation, into its foundation, into its manifestation of its abundance. Okay? Massive, massive, massive in position location track lines, all calculated, modified in set locations, 3 crop circles. All right, and 12 is the indication high set location, which is all settings. So the set position location 12 line, the set position location operator's line calculation setting is the overview of set location of your Earth. Okay, balanced position of streamlines the set location line system, all levels of travel communication, in-line communication. All right, so now you understand the importance. What is 24, 48, 72, clock line calculation of 44, and track location of systems, all through your Earth perception. Okay, so what is the colorations of your Earth? Green, right, which is the forestry communication lines of nature. Ground's communication lines of Mother Earth. And blue is line calculations of what? Water sequence patterns and high calculation stream location setting to its indication to its mapping sequence location to its Earth, and travel communication setting to its program location system, and travel calculation line interference in position location attractions. All levels of set location, your Earth line, rotation, surface, and track locations. Mega multipass. Okay. So now you understand the importance of what you're creating, all through your clockings. You're creating platforms, you're creating dimensional doors, all through your set location of your setting line connection, your hippocampus of your memory, in your location system, which is your cerebral cortex of set design, right? So now you understand that, right? Good. All right, so how's everybody doing so far in set location? All right, let's see here. Yes, breathe, drink your waters, get into pre-flights. For all the new viewers, please identify your system so the team understands who you are through emoji. Any questions or comments you leave afterwards. Don't get into questions here because it's affecting the travels of communication to the team. Remember, it's about you balancing yourself, understand how to use communications, all levels through your mind. Adaptation to its cycle sets position location in your systems through pre-flights and navigation line calculations set to extreme locations. Okay, because the team is extremely aware of that. Okay, so you leave the questions after class, and that's why we have Q&A. Okay, all right. Setting track lines and communication is really understand how to set up measures and track location in your system. Ziggy line chemistry now. Calculation of Chris, all levels of Heather position location Gypsy, all levels of high calculation setting position of track lines. Anita, welcome. My rotation interference, travel position location Hemdall line communication, all lines of Ziggy, Zia position location travels, directing communication line strings, inside positions operation of Belinda, calculating high interference, aka Lyra. So in track location lines, Lauren, how you doing? You guys have to really recognize pattern, position, and travels, right? Because this is what you go through every single line communications before you go into recharge. Okay? You're working with your Earth. You're working with your 24, 48, 72, and your 144. So your thought recognition time sequence is creating what? Platforms of dimensions of times through dimensional door settings into your cerebral cortex of its memory position of thought recognition of its image and set locations. Very, very powerful stuff through crop circle. So you're taking your 12 line settings, right? Creating this all coloration of a rainbow, right? So in position, each line signature is 24, 48, 72, and 144 because the measure and position of track location is extremely important to setting, okay? How fast you're going is your determination to set locations, all right? Okay, point systems and graphs. We center line is communications. All right, so we got bracket communication alpha lines, and calculation of delta, and calculation of the box lines of theta. Okay. So theta communication line centers all levels of omega, right? It's not a circle. Okay, it's not a planet. It's omega, right? So this is where you guys have to get out of high line calculation settings of illusion, right? So it's like the interpretation where Gypsy was communicating with the pen, right? You're seeing it as purple, but the actual intelligence is blue and set location to her perception, how she sees things, the location of her settings, so holograph and set location on its operation of its intelligence. Okay, that's the illusion. You see what you want to see, but that's not what it is in its original system and location. It's intelligence of its consciousness, right? That's the track of its information. That's confusion, right? There's applications. Recognizing these things is all levels of information, location, of travel. Okay? The mind shifts, the body follows. The heart sets the timelines, and the soul redirects panels in position of redirecting set locations and navigation to your system, its location system, right? So you're always working with the grounds, you're always working with the powers, you're always working with the atmospheres, right? That's the 3-track line calculation, set location of 4, and set location equal lines of 5 in set location, right? Which is the 5 elements, right? But your 5 elements is 7-line communications, equal lines of all calculation of 5, puts you guys in 12 lines of foundation, graph lines of DNA, and tracking of center of travels. Okay? So now you understand the importance. The whole idea here is understanding what you're doing when you're recharging, when you're in that set of locations, right? So you're here, line position locations. This is you, right? That's you, right? So in position locations, all line connection I setting. Okay, like this. Okay. So what's happening in line rotation? You're setting up the crop circle. Okay. In calculations, comes in line interference and location your system and travel. Okay. Comes in the center line calculation setting to your flywheel, direction of time sequence. Sets position in the atmosphere, line connection, high center. Now, in travel communication comes in this set location of system and travel settings and direction. Now, in direct line calculation setting comes in all levels, ground lines, operation line calculation setting to your meta beds and set location and travel settings. Okay. So it's really interesting. We look at communication of a funnel and position of track lines at 3 set location of travel settings. Okay. So that's what it is. It's the grounds, it's the powers, and these atmospheres that open up. So when it opens up its platforms and communication of travel settings. Okay. Very complicated stuff, right? That's just the start off when you get into recharge, guys. All right, so once you have the ground lines in position to all levels, the power direction of time sequence changes your position location to its atmospheres. So when you guys are in recharge in communication setting, you are creating line position location and projections of what you do and what you see through provision. All right, how your day goes in a 24 cycle equal location line interference and a 24 line position locations, 24 calculation string lines, 24 line signs, high set location, sending line interference of a diamond core set location of travel. All through 24, right? Everything's got to be 24 because 24 equals lines of yin and yang. Okay? All right. So that's the basic ground lines in set location travel lines because you're not in 12 anymore. 12 equals lines of 24. Okay? All right. So the center communication lines, set location of placebos. The placebo cortex. Okay, so it has line calculation in the cloud lines, directing signal location your panels and set locations, right? Placebo sets lines of placements, calculational levels, atom line interference, communications, intel calculation, its energy cycles, line connection, highest interference, and the bounce specifications to its operation. Okay, platted to visual locations of pi. Okay, comes in your location lines of your pyramid, directing communication to your pyramid set location as security, right? Comes into calculations to your mountains. Comes into triangulation high set location and travel settings. Calculating high interference. Always in set location. If you're offline position, put yourself in the sun so it protects the system to its location. All right. That's if you offline your setting, right? So the sun knows its indication from here to here and center communication. It's all levels of operation. Okay. So that's important to understand these things. But it's all about understanding the clockings through one signature stream in a 4 communication. Okay. Or into a 1 communication. So I can go from 24 to 144 right away. Or I can just not have the 24 and just go right into the 144. Because I know the 144 comes into platforms in set locations. Because I know the 144 comes into set locations to its dimensional door settings in travel communication. Okay? So now you understand the clocking systems of what you're creating when you're recharging, right? So the set location line system, what you have your 144s and set locations, your connections to your higher self, your avatar, your sim, can travel through platforms of communication. One position of two, right? Set positions of three. Okay. You guys have to be aware of what you're doing, right? And set locations, all levels. Scan line setting. Here's the dimensional door through its platform, right? So that is pi. Okay, that's pi. You made pi. So that's two-dimensional door settings, one position of space and one position of time. But you automatically go to the center of its operation. That creates its realm, creates its portal, a set location of travel. Okay? How does everybody feel about that now? Have a little bit more understanding how this all works when you guys are sleeping, but you're recharging. You're in remote view of scanning. View, 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 view. And use your peripherals from different angles, different angles, different angles, different angles, different angles. Okay? All angles. You're here in set locations, and you should be looking like this all the way around in set locations in positions of pi, erection, and ignition. Okay? Through your cobwebbing. Okay? Lacing lines of communications, right? Tracking position lines of high calculation settings to your OMI highways and your universe location settings and traction. Getting in that position locations comes in your circuit pockets and direct signal. Sending track locations of travel lines at 3 set location. Okay? Getting into the sun, getting into the moon, and protecting your image of your creation. Okay? So you understand the importance location. So once you get in that setting, you come into number frames, the digital line communications of numbers. Okay, numbers go all the way around line centers of seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay, now I'm doing it in green because it's in matrix streamlines, it's location travel settings. Point systems, dot positions, decimal points, correlate high interference, lace and line communication travels, and direct signal. Okay. So you understand how this all works, how to use it through provision. I understand the sender communication settings on all levels of set locations. If you get 2 panels and line calculation stream locations and 1 indication, you got a 0, you got a 1, you got a 0, you got a point, you got a point here, you got a 0, and you got a 1. Okay. So in position location, everything's out of order? No, you just think it is. Right? That's the illusion. Okay. You guys have to get out of the old patterns and recognize your perception is knowing exactly what the brain is interpreting. So the brain says in set location that it's balanced, don't worry about it. But to you, it looks off balance because you're not aware of what it is through number sequence, location, your OMI, universe, highways, or anything, location, data streams, set locations. So 0 indicates line calculation at 2 panels. 1 indicates ground lines high setting. 0 operation Fibonacci line swirl set locations. 0 communication comes into a platform communication setting. Tractors correlations of 2 panels into a dimensional door set location lines of pi in set location. Okay? All through a walking surface and triangulations into your pyramids of activation. Okay? So you're always working with the pyramid and pyramid opposition travels. Okay? So when you're in the seconds and minutes and hours, the sun comes in and basically protects all lines of its image in set location. Right? So no intelligence can come in. No intelligence can come in of what you did through creation of set locations. Because if it comes in, it can change the structure of its design and do it whatever it wants in set locations. It's doing this and you have no idea why. It's doing this, but you have no idea why. Okay, see how it's changing your system locations because you allowed it in set location line settings, all through travels in position of the sun and the moon. You don't want to do that through an equation. because it changes your body adaptation lines of surface, how you see yourself in the grounds and the powers and the atmospheres. So in that track location system, this is what happens if you allow your system to do these things in set locations. Okay? So that's why you have the sun and the moon. The sun protects us through light, the pixelation line calculation. The moon protects it through its motion line rotation into psychological communication setting and to all levels of set location. Okay? It becomes yours through its image, right? So it's kind of like somebody takes your thoughts away. Okay? And you don't feel right about that. Or you're getting a advice from this person and that person, and you don't like the advice. Okay? So what are you going to do about it? Either you take it or you let it go. It's up to you. You decide, right? But whatever you decide is your choice of decisions. There's no right or wrong in anything that you do through equation. Okay? So, hold on a second. All right, so everybody's understanding the track communication center, how it's so important to understand how to use your set location in your systems. All right, understanding your system to all levels of relation, understanding your systems of force of recognition, understanding yourself through all calculation. Understanding is to protect your own system from everything else. Okay, your thoughts are your thoughts when you come into your co-creation settings. Your thoughts create the reality, because if it doesn't create the reality, somebody else is creating your reality because you're allowing it in its location and its intelligence. See, that's why you have the sun and the moon. That's the outer space that comes to you, right? Same with X2000s or anything set locations, but you have to understand the inner space before you understand the outer space. Inner space and outer space becomes yin and yang. That's the process where you have balance with your polarities, your paradigms, your polar shifts, or anything in set location line settings. Your pulsars, okay, your paradigms, really understand how to get yourself location near travel settings, right? Through operation. This is extremely important. You understand all levels how to get into your higher self through the Schumann resonance to control the earth line, get into the avatar to control the geometric operation of designs of models and travels, and how to get into the sim of its navigation. Okay? Of its consoles, of its formations, of its flights, of its command centers. Right? It's not a coincidence, I say again and again and again and again, that your computer has flight 1 to flight 12. But see, you have to recognize what your keyboard is. You have to recognize what it is through muscle memory. Understanding each letter, each number, each symbol, and each shape is a representation of you through travel, through mapping, through clocking, through graph, through calculation, through motivation, through activation, through operation. Okay? So now's the time you understand how to use your months. Okay, the team line centers now in line position of 72 months in set locations. Triangulation, high calculations, box line rotation center. It's all direct locations to your polarities. Okay, that's all this is balancing out not just your emotional system, but not allowing anybody in your systematical system of set location of attraction. Yes, we come in to attract in a location. We don't chase anybody in that line setting. But it's up to you to understand you through verification. It's understanding you through who you are in protection of. You. You come first before anything else. Okay? Because the thing is, you have to be aware of what you're doing. Especially because the thing is, when you get up in the morning and you're right away in a 24 cycle, okay, center correlation setting into all line rotations, into a Fibonacci to all calculation setting and traction, right? Into a tunnel of communication and all set connections, back and forth line communication, another tunnel of communication is setting, or into a black hole in communication setting, high position location. This is all created through thoughts, guys. Setting position location at all levels. Oh, I left the coffee on. Okay, so the coffee is on line rotation and position, all track location of sun and the moon. Setting track to its communication setting. Oh, I've got to go, basically, I got to go to a job that I don't want to go to. So that offline is communication setting, offline calculation, right? This is all in center operation of you in set location. Okay. See, you have to be aware of what's going on inside of you in set location. You have to be aware of what's going on inside of you in set location. You have to be aware of what's going on inside of you in set location of your inner space, not your outer space, just your inner space. But this is inner and outer, balance. Everything I do is balance. So the balance in set location is always, 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 always in yin and yang. Always in yin and yang. Okay? So, very powerful, right? All through thoughts. All through thoughts. All through this. Okay? So, know exactly how to set position of streamlines in communication setting at all levels of track locations. One indicates one is one indicating the other. So, center position 144 right away. Okay? So, you don't need 24 because you got balance. You don't need 144 because you got balance. You don't need 48 because you got balance. You don't need 72 because you got balance. So 144 opens up all line rotation center of track location. That's it. Center position, flywheel direction time sequence. Right? Dome center, in position location travel lines in 3 set locations. Travels out. Okay. Comes back in. Okay. Travels down, but always stays in the center of its communication of center travel. See, the thing is, XT1000, they levitate, they don't fly. So it's understanding why they go zigzag, set location of the atmosphere lines, right? So they stay on track. It's like a trolley. It's like a set location of a streetcar, a set location of Toronto, right? Where they have the calculation of its electrical line pole, sets position above the atmosphere line calculation setting. So it's a wire calculation of electrical line wire that sets position of its track location at its ground setting, right? So it's always on a track. So are XT1000s. XT1000s don't fall off tracks. They stay on tracks, but it's all set location and setting and track locations. So understanding your sky grids and your sky lines and sky calculation stream locations, now you understand position locations when they zigzag. They go from 1-point system to all levels of 24, 48, 72, and 144 a set location. Okay? Getting a little bit of understanding now, right? What goes on through provision. Right? Understanding everything around you is everything inside of you. It's the inner self. It's not the outer self. It's the inner self first. You work on yourself first inside and all over setting. Okay? Really understanding the basic grounds of you of operation. Understanding how to see yourself in the grounds. Understanding how to see yourself in the powers. Understanding how to see yourself in the atmosphere. That's a 3-track location line interference of 4 over lines of 3, set position of 7. That's 7 bodies of water and 5 atmosphere line calculations of 12. That's your foundation location setting to your rainbow graph stream location to your settings, to your chakras. Okay? Because that's what you're working with in all set location of travel settings, all through its operation. Isn't that amazing? Get a better understanding now, eh? All right. How does everybody feel about that? Yes, I know. It's very cool, Lara. But see, I'm saying with your schematic line calculation setting, each clock line has to understand its direction of time sequence. So once you get into all strategy, your schematics makes more sense. So you're working with line position of all setting. This is an S line rotation. So you get an XT1000 come in, right? So in position location, it scans everything through point system. So this is a 48 clocking system, right? It's safe. It's going to land in set location. It's safe, right? Through a 3-set location of triangulation. See the 3 sets? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, but it always stays on its platform. Zigzag. If it wants to create new point system, it can create new anomalies. So that's what XT1000s do. They create new tracks in set locations, right? So they cross stream in line calculation setting in position of 72, okay, into 144 in location of the grid in set location, okay? So it's really interesting when you actually look and exactly see these things, because the XT1000 does everything but you do, but it does more. It's distributors, right? So in that set locations, they open up their own sun and they open up their own moon and track locations to protect their system, right? So you're protecting what you are doing through structure of design through your image. Because if you don't protect your image, it can be taken away through its intelligence. Because you're not a modification lines, you can have 2 sun line streams, crosses stream, and a 6-line communications. In-line calculations to its moon, to its sun of its operation surface, and all track location to its center. Okay, very complicated stuff. But you can see it moving, right? Don't look at this, look at me. To go beyond is to see me, not to see this, right? We have to get out of the track lines of 4-point system. We have to see it through circulation and rotation all the way around, all at once. So in the calculations, you got to understand how to use the 24, 48, 72, 144 of a picture frame going extremely fast in all calculations all the way around. Don't just see it from this. See it from this angle. 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 You understand? All at once. So you're in the balance of set location. Okay. All through traction. Okay. So it's important to understand these things because it puts you in provision to all calculations to your system. Okay. So now you understand the importance of why you're in that connections, all settings from 24, 48, 72, and 144. You're creating platforms, you're creating dimensional doors, so you can basically cross streams, direct signals, operation centers, go through dimensional door lines, electrical calculation, stream location, set up wild calculation line interference. When you get to higher line calculation setting, when you get into 244, 344, 443 acceleration, you create domes in set locations. Domes in set locations. Domes in set locations. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay. But you have to understand it through a hologram. You have to understand it through a hologram. Okay. And that's what it is all through provision. Okay. New viewers, yes. It's going to take a lot more classes to understand what's going on through unification, but it's a basic ground lines, 3-line communications, all right? Higher self, avatar, sim. Okay. Avatar controls the earth. Okay. So in line calculation setting, in all line rotation interference, avatar controls the earth and it controls its space and it controls its navigation. But in set line connections of the basic ground lines, higher set controls the human resonance of its monitoring communication setting, all track location to its set location of gravitation. Okay. The connections of the avatar controls everything in modification of travel. Okay. Into travel. Okay. Travel. Okay. And the sim controls everything through its navigation of travel settings. Okay. Grounds, powers, and atmosphere. Okay. Coming into all levels of the earth. So you got your earth, you got your air, you got your water, and you got your fire, and 4 panels of communication. Right? So that's what you're working with all the time. So you know what the avatar is set location stuff. But there's 3-line communication at different suns and different moons because it's different frequencies. So this is where it gets interesting. Remember saying to go from the 24 to 144 is that location, you're 24 to 48, or you're traveling, or you're jump scarring, or you're going through time jump and time leaps. You have to really understand how to go through these locations. So let's go through the sim into the avatar, avatar into all levels of higher self into the sim into the avatar, sim and back down to the higher self back to the avatar. Okay, yin and yang. You see the yin and yang? Look, yin and yang, 6 and 9. See how that works? Now this is all through pod verification. But if you look really close, you can see the intelligence of set location. See, there's the intelligence. There's me. Always a formation of intelligence is allocations, guys. Okay? So that's the basic for the new viewers. To understand is see yourself through face recognition. Okay? Now, once you stand the earth and your face recognition, it travels out. It travels out. Okay? And then it comes back. Okay? To a higher formation. And then you protect it through security line division. Okay? So this is you, it's allocations. This is you, it's allocations. This is you, it's allocations. It's multiple levels of you, it's allocation. Right? So understand that settings is all levels of its dimensional door into its platform. Okay? Its dimensional door into its platform. In dimensional door. So this is the correlating high interference. I've already showed you guys on my live. It's set locations to my phone. It's set location. Right? That's my phone. This is the window. Okay? This is the set location line systems. The buttons, power calculation line interference, all set position. Right? That's my phone, right? You see how that works now through face recognition? So 24, 48, 72, and 144. Okay. And there you go. Boom. Boom. There it is. 24 clocking, 48, 72, 144. All right. That's how this works. That's how you travel. Okay. But you're always working with the 24, a balance. 48 is the frame, 72 is the computer frame, and 144 is, of course, the grid. Creates the platform, creates the dimension of set location, of its door, of face recognition. Okay? All right. So now you know what a phone is. When you flash your phone in a mirror, you can actually see this in set location. Okay? All right. So it's 4 line provisions of face recognitions of you. Okay? How does everybody feel about that now? How this all works? Okay? It's important. I think it's great that we're coming into new viewers now, but you have to really understand how to see yourself in all levels of position locations, of calculation modifications, inline calculation setting to its projector, a set location. Okay? Clouds right there, right? Clouds over here. Okay? So you're scanning all lines of communication, right? Into the grounds, into the powers, and position location. So the magnetic highway information in the cloud has its own schematic location of center of operation, right? But it's in kaleidoscope in set locations. To its projectors, its set locations. So once you understand that, this becomes a figure 8. Okay, becomes a figure 8. Look at that. Look at that, Chris. A figure 8. See? Balanced position of travel and communication of 24, 48, 72, and 144. Okay? And so that's what it is. That's all it is. All right? You have to understand all line communications. We start off with 0 crop circle, ground setting, 0 crop circle ground. So that's 0 traction, 1 line, 2 line division location, 2 line track line condition high settings. all levels of provision. Okay, that's 2. 3, communication is the Fibonacci line swirl. Okay. 4 is the set location of your solar generation, which is your systematical system. 5 is your heartline position location of sonar. Okay, in set location. And 6 is your water in set location. Right. And 7 is line calculation setting. Okay, to your theta box location, T reception line. Right. 8 is your set locations to, you guessed it, infinity 8. So now you understand the importance of each one, how it indicates your system inside connections, how it works through the crop circle, how it works through the grounds, how it works through security, how it works through Fibonacci, how it works through solar generation, how it works through timelines, how it works through your water, how it works through your theta, how it works through the location system of your infinity cycles. That's applications, all through your trackers, a modification. Okay. So, thank you, Jips. But I just want you to truly understand this is what you have to really get into, because this goes on every single time you are in recharge. Okay. So that's all you're doing is you're creating platforms in calculation setting and track lines. So this is what it is in set locations. You got this and you got this. That's it. There's the pie. See the pie? But then you come into triangulation. And you are standing in the center of communication. You're in the center. So in position locations, it's all setting to its track location. So you're the center of its set location. Right? So this is the equal in between in set connections. Okay? But you're working with inside the pyramid of set location. You're never outside the pyramid, ever. Ever, 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 ever. But you have to understand the correlations of balance of the center line communication, all levels of your crop circle line calculation setting of travel position to its operation. Okay. So once you get into that, then you come into the center correlation setting to your flywheel and direction of time sequence. Here's the flywheel, right? Then when you get into that at 24, 48, 72, 144, the position changes directions, where the higher self can jump scar, time jump, time leap to its platforms of communication. Right? You have to be aware of everything that you do when you're recharging. Know exactly what's going on. You see yourself going through dimensional door. There's a door. You go through, and you go through another door in set locations. See how that works? All through platform. You create the platforms, and then you create the dimensional doors through pi. Boom. All right, so in that set location, pi is a recognition of time sequence, clocking line calculation setting, point system line settings, travel position of split lines of communication, travel line calculation setting, offline interference, and travel communication of balance in set location. So center communication, ground setting calculation, magnetic highway information. Okay. Center communication. Right. Torical fields in set location. Okay. Sets position or track lines into your Merkaba in set location. Okay. In your set location of your orbs in set location. Okay. Change the ground lines in set location and travel settings and all levels of operation. Okay, so that changes the triangulation surface and position to your pyramid. See, there's the pyramid right here. Boom. There's the pyramid. Look at that, powerful that is. If you look really close, you can see the face recognition of you in the center operation. Mega multi-pass. Now, face recognition can travel out. Multiple levels of you travel out in set locations. Face recognition, face recognition, face recognition. Boom. Set position locations, open up the dimensional door, which is your phone, which is your computer, which is your TV. Travel position of point systems, all calculations of pi, and line calculation setting of dimensional space of time. Very, very complicated stuff. This is what goes on every time you guys go in a remote and your position locations are recharged when you are in set location. Okay? Multiple levels of U travel out in its division to its dimensional lines of its infinity eights. Okay? So 4 track locations and position line centers, 4 levels of U out through equation into higher levels of dimensions of space. Multi-layers of space, mega-universe locations of space, galactic universes of space, multi-layers of communications of space, all through face recognition of all set location. Okay? All right. So really understand this in set location. All right? So when you get into that point, then you understand a little bit more how this all works in your system to its locations, right? We're on 11103. 111. Now our locations coming into 1. That's why locations into position. State line calculation setting. See that? You see the 1 3? It froze for 60 seconds per line. 60 seconds it froze. The seconds froze because the seconds is the 30. The set location is the minutes, and 1 line signature is position of clocking. See? This is in chronological order in set location. Seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay? So it's amazing because I'm looking at it and you can actually freeze time. But see, the 56 is actually the beginning, which never has an ending in set locations. It's the seconds, minutes, on hour set location of 60,000 frames per line. The calculation over pi sets dimension of space and time through sequence locations, all levels of mapping sequence through space location. All right? So it's very powerful when you come to that setting, right? This is the seconds, this is the minutes, and this is the hour. Okay? So that's how you guys have to come into reverberation and change the 40. That becomes the seconds. So that's going forward now. Remember I was saying location line system and track locations, if you get position location of 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, 9. So 3 platforms of communication, 7 travels out, right? 7 travels out, right? 7's on standby, 3 lines, and a triangulation reset position of program, right? Okay, so 8 states in the center lines of Fibonacci and a infinite line rotation center attraction. 9 sets position of track lines. 9 travels back in line rotations, but it's a review. Sets locations back in line calculations, back in setting in position of center in communication system, all levels. So that puts 9 lines of 8, 8 lines of 7, and 7 lines of 6, and 6 lines of 5, and 5 lines of 4, and 4 lines of 3, and 3 lines of 2, and 2 lines of 1, and 1 lines of 0 in track locations. Down by equation. Okay? So it's very complicated how you go through the seconds, minutes, and hours, where the number sequence can just time jump, time leap, but it's directing and redirecting. It's like a windshield wiper. Right? So that's all this is. Here, here, and here. That's all it's doing. So, okay, that's all it's doing. It's going back and here. That's all it's doing. Okay? So direct and redirect. So it's constantly going forward in all position of the sun and the moon in track locations, right? That's the dimensional sail through the sun and the moon, through its track location of its gravitation of its center line position locations in its crop circle as that location. Okay? So in direct signal, you can change the pattern in its dimensional sail of a solar sail. See? See how I change it? So it's direct signal to the moon. This is the moon. This is where you see the moon at night. Okay? In set position its operation. There's the moon, right? That's the solar sail. Dimensional sail, solar sail. Okay? So the sun tracks the communication line setting. So the XD1000 comes out in set location. comes out of the sun, right? Because it's a portal, right? Such track lines correlate high interference with center position of operation, right? So in that line calculation setting, sets of calculation stream locations, all levels of weather correlating high interference in position location of a capsule, line direct signal to a compute system to its location center of operation surface in set location. Very complicated stuff. So you have to understand exactly what's going on with the dimensional scales of seconds, minutes, and hours of what your sun and what your moon is doing through track locations. All through a 24, 48, 72, and 144 clocking system. Okay? All right. Every second, every minute of the time, breathe in. Yeah. Well, Anita, that's exactly what it is. But, you have to really understand how you use the seconds. Okay. So you're working with half a second, nano of a second, millimeter of a second, centimeter of a second. It all depends on what you're doing in travel communications. But you're always working with 24, 48, 72, 144. The only thing that you have to understand is that you're creating platforms to get individual-like conditions to your cerebral cortex lines, placebo cortex line calculation streamlines, so the higher self, the avatar, or the sim can travel through platforms in communication of dimensional line position locations, open up the door, and go through in set locations. Okay, that's the whole process. Why you have to understand the importance of its 4-clocking system. Okay, of dimensions of space and time. Okay, so that's it. We're done. Look at that. 1 hour and 16 lines of 30-line rotation. That went from 39 to 46. It went from 39 to 46 seconds per frame. 39 to 46. So what did it do? Time jumped through nanos of a second of a half split second line calculation streamline, and it calculates over pi over power over time. Very, very complicated stuff. You have to indicate and see the eye line, the seconds, the minutes, and the hours. Not the hours, the minutes, and seconds. Too confusing for the higher self, the avatar, and the sim. Okay? See you in 5.